Throughout the years, a myriad of creative teams behind our favourite games have shuttered, be it due to poor management, a game flopping, or publishers shuttering studios due to cost cutting. But when Telltale Games shuttered in September of 2018, the gaming world was left stunned. While perhaps creatively stagnant by this point, their fortunes had ensured plentiful work from the likes of DC, Marvel, and Minecraft. And while it has come to light that poor management and declining sales were among factors of Telltale's collapse, they were a studio that had a profound effect on the way many of us looked at storytelling in games. Telltale formed out of the ashes of the dwindling adventure genre. After the rise of action-oriented shooters like Doom and the oversaturation of Myst-style point-and-clicks, many publishers began to decline proposed adventure titles, including LucasArts, whose canning of a new Sam and Max game would trigger the formation of a new studio. Kevin Brunner, Dan Connors, and Troy Molander left LucasArts and formed Telltale, focusing on the faded genre while using an, at the time, forward-thinking episodic format. In the ensuing 6 years, Telltale would make relatively low-key adaptations, including adaptations of the Bone comic book, CSI tie-ins, and even working on a Sam and Max, continuing the series LucasArts had originally shelved. But by 2010, Telltale began working with more valuable movie licenses, in the form of Back to the Future and Jurassic Park, and while neither was critically successful, it seemed like Telltale was beginning to find their niche. But it would be 2012 when Telltale finally broke out as a mainstream developer with their 5-episode run of The Walking Dead. Improving upon the gameplay found in previous Telltale efforts, the adaptation of Robert Kirkman's comic was a critical and commercial success, garnering high scores and Game of the Year awards. It's also a game that I hold close to my heart, as it marked the first game since 2008's Lost Odyssey to harbour such an affecting and emotional story that I shed tears. It stood out thanks to avoiding the third-person and first-person shooter tropes which, ironically, killed the genre to begin with, and by removing the illogical and challenging puzzles, it had a better chance at mainstream appeal. Not only bolstered by the hit TV show at the time, it also marked a key moment for storytelling and gaming, which has since become an integral part of modern gaming. Telltale had made it to prominence, supposedly securing themselves as a mainstay developer of the medium. But things were starting to decline before they'd even released their next game. Several key members of staff departed Telltale, including The Walking Dead's lead writer Sean Vanaman. Despite this, they'd scored another comic book property in the form of The Wolf Among Us, a hard-hitting and gritty episodic adventure based on the Vertigo comic Fables. And it was respectable in quality, but not only did it rely on a more obscure license, it left a lot of fans uneasy with a 9-month wait before its full completion, compared to the 7 months it took for The Walking Dead's first season to wrap up. But this was not Telltale's only project, as in December 2013, a second season for The Walking Dead debuted. It's possible the crossover affected each season, as juggling 2 developing projects at once, while financially more profitable, leads to both oversaturation and staff burnout, and it is likely the start of Telltale's troubles. Between 2012 and 2018, Telltale made 13 separate seasons, 14 if you include The Walking Dead's remastered collection, and this naturally led to a creative burnout. It's not unlike the problems which plagued Guitar Hero, as after several installments of varying quality in 2009, the series stagnated. Players would often wait for a complete season, as not only does it mean no downtime between episodes, but also often sale discounts by the time it's fully launched, which surely contributed to declining sales of each new season. Metacritic averages for each season dropped, and it seemed like the extraordinary highs of The Walking Dead Season 1 were a part of the past. Telltale's investment in licensed episodic seasons was also a costly gamble. The Walking Dead's acclaim naturally led to more seasons, but they would also score more comic book properties with Batman and Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as HBO's Game of Thrones and Borderlands. While this would often give the games an advantage thanks to the name recognition, licensing these franchises is always more costly than creating an original IP. Sales of the ensuing seasons proved poor, particularly for the surprisingly dull Game of Thrones, leading to decreasing returns. The Minecraft seasons proved lucrative, but also marked a creative low for Telltale, something made purely to make a quick buck off of the millions enamoured with the craze. By the time of Telltale's demise, more projects were leaked, including Stranger Things and further Minecraft, but perhaps it was too little, too late. But, for me, what held Telltale back the most was their stubborn use of the Telltale tool. Every project since their inception has used this engine, and while it has naturally received improvements and tweaks, it seemed a constant thorn in their side. Games published on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 were plagued with frame rate woes and technical bugs, and while the move to next-gen hardware would smooth some of these kinks, there were still long-standing issues which dampened all their games. Lip syncing was never a good fit, animation was often stiff and rigid, and the same bugs persisted season after season. Not even an overhaul in 2016 could help, as both Batman and The Walking Dead: A New Frontier struggled with performance issues and technical woes. If you continue to disappoint consumers with the same problems, eventually they will stop buying the games, especially at launch, a pivotal sales point. But these negatives aside, Telltale's closure is still saddening. There's the fact that hundreds find themselves without work, very little medical benefits, and an absence of post-layoff support, which has led to a class action lawsuit. And not only will it likely leave several projects, including a new Wolf Among Us season and a Stranger Things adventure, unfinished forever, it marks the death of a developer who raised the importance of storytelling in gaming. The Walking Dead, despite technical foibles, was arguably the best narrative of its time. Coming out before the likes of The Last of Us would further take this concept and raise the stakes. It led to more episodic gaming, including Don't Nod finding huge success with Life is Strange. And for a lot of gamers, myself included, it gave them many memories, whether they were sad, visceral, or hilarious.
Dad, the lights are shaking again.
What did I say? You want a big bad wolf to take you away?
No.
Then get the fuck back inside!
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this reflection on Telltale. What did you think of Telltale games? And do you have a favourite memory? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more retro modern gaming content.